What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down why meta absolutely doesn't matter and why you should stop listening to tier lists, period. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, this originally comes from a question on Reddit that read something like this, and many people have probably had a very similar question. It said, quote, "Is every character playable in the highest tiers, or does it reach the point where you must play certain team comps? I'm trying to be the best Yoru in the game and just wanted to know if I could still play on the highest level of ranked." Now, the simple response is, of course. There are Radiant Yoru players, so it makes sense that you could climb to the highest on, Yoru or really any character. But why is that? Because I think a lot of people really love tier lists and meta, but why does meta actually not really matter that much? And why can you play any single character and climb to the highest rank? Well, what does meta first stand for? It actually stands for most effective tactics available. And now when you hear that, you say, oh shit, yeah, most effective tactics available? Yeah, I want to play the meta. I want to do what is the most effective. But there's a huge problem when understanding where meta actually comes from in a game and how it's going to affect you in your rank. The first thing that you need to understand that is so goddamn important is that meta is always defined from pro play. It's never going to be defined from your average rank. It's not going to be defined from gold. It's not going to be defined from even radiant. Meta is always going to be defined from the highest level of play. And why is that? Well, you can never know what the most effective tactic is if you're not taking it from the top level. Where meta actually implies being the most effective tactics, actual tactics available that is being used when you're putting the top teams together, what actually stands out. And that's typically where we make our tier list from here. So you can smash that like and subscribe if you want to see what the highest level of pros are using. However, you got to understand that just because something is working in the coordination and the skill set of the highest players in the game does not mean it really affects anything else, because there's a lot of things that just cannot be copied. You got to understand that the communication is just going to be second to none. The teamwork, the strategy, none of these things can be copied from the pro level, even all the way to Radiant, even to Immortal. Definitely not anything below that. Nothing about a pro meta can be replicated into just your average ranked experience. And this means that it doesn't matter if there's a certain character that is really meta in the pro scene, unless it also is incredibly easy to use and doesn't have a high barrier to entry as far as the teamwork and cohesion needed to play that character, then it's just not going to actually be that meta in ranked play. Another huge factor is the nature of ranked, which is you're playing with complete strangers. And because of this, you want to have a very high individual impact. And typically the ranked meta will definitely flock to characters that are very solo impact oriented. This is why a character like Reyna is legitimately one of the best characters you could play in ranked if you are indeed better than your opponent, because you could directly take your skill and create tons of impact and win a lot of disadvantaged fights. Now, Reyna in pro play in the meta is actually pretty bad. She sees very infrequent play, and the reason for this is everyone is more like a cog in a machine doing their job to the fullest. Even someone who is your all-star fragger is definitely going to be playing a duelist that could be better set up by teammates, and they don't have to do it all. They can take space for their team, or they can get set up by their team. They don't have to be a one-man army like you would have to be in ranked. Now, what does this actually mean when it all boils down? Well, for one, meta doesn't really matter all that much when it comes to ranked play. If you want to play Yoru or Brimstone or anything that you really want, you can climb it all the way to Radiant, and nothing is going to stop you from doing so. But don't misunderstand this with having proper team comps and having a balanced team composition. Like, I'm not saying, oh, meta doesn't exist. You could just play all duelists or all smokes. That is not what meta is. That is simply building solid team compositions that have the tools to not only get on site, but delay and do everything that you need to do in an average game of Valorant. And you're going to need a combination of different abilities to do so. But as far as individual characters, there's no character that is just such an active detriment, especially when the game is so reliant on mechanical skill, that will hold you back to climbing to whatever rank you want to climb to. Now, the second big thing that a lot of people ask is, okay, if meta doesn't really matter for my rank, why do I care what the pros run? Why do I even watch a meta video at all? Well, here's the thing. If you understand what the most powerful tactics are at the highest level, and you actually watch the games and analyze it, you can see the context for how these abilities are being used, and you can get a lot of ideas for how to use it in your games. Even if you can't perfectly mock how a Sova, for instance, is playing retake with his team, or how Killjoy is setting up a lineup plus a lockdown, and how they're using this to play into their meta. Just because you can't perfectly copy that with the synergy and the teamwork in your games doesn't mean you can't incorporate a fraction or part of that same impact and value into your games to get you added win percentage. So overall, there's a lot that you can learn from the meta, but it's important to not live your life by it and apply it to things where it really doesn't actually matter all that much and it shouldn't control the way you play the game. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely comment down below if you have any questions, and go to the GameLeap website if you want more high quality vids. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. I love your faces, and I'll see y'all next time.